Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Monday, November 24th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. Today, a federal judge tossed out the criminal case against State Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey. The judge found that the prosecutor who brought those charges was illegally appointed by President Trump's Justice Department. The Trump administration is expected to appeal, but the ruling marks a major blow to the president's plans to legally go after his political enemies. Joining me now for a wide-ranging interview on that and a number of other topics is House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. He also represents parts of Brooklyn, including all or part of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Canarsie, Coney Island, and Sheepshead Bay. Welcome back to the program. Always good to see you.
Great to be with you.
I wanted to get your reaction to today's big news about the case being dismissed against Letitia James.
Well, it was a welcome development. Attorney General Tish James is a tremendous public servant, a champion for the communities throughout New York City and New York State, as well as beyond, really a national leader pushing back against the extremism of the Trump administration. As a result of her outspokenness, the Department of Justice filed this phony indictment against her, and I'm thankful that it was dismissed. You know, the so-called Department of Justice under the Trump administration is a malignant clown show. And they got what they deserve today, and we're going to continue to stand by Tish James until this whole matter is definitively over.
As an attorney, how serious was the error by the Justice Department? I was reading the decision, and I was thinking, man, you're not supposed to make these kind of mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen this over and over again, but this is what happens when effectively there are no credible attorneys running the Department of Justice. They all answer to Donald Trump, who's just using the Justice Department as a weapon against his perceived adversaries as part of him unleashing all of this extremism against the American people. And by the way, the American people are rejecting it up and down the ballot across the country. We just saw that recently with the off-year elections earlier this month.
Okay, we'll get back to the elections in a minute. Let's stay local for a minute and talk about some of the local politics. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was talking today, says that Democratic leadership, and I think he was talking nationally, he says are not prepared, are not tough enough, are not fighting hard enough in the direction that the nation and the party needs to go. I wanted to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about. By the way, Democrats literally across the country, in New Jersey, in New York, in Virginia, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Mississippi, right, in California, across the country, up and down the ballot, race after race after race, have won elections. This represents a pushback that's dramatic against the extremism of the Trump administration, and Democrats actually articulating an affirmative agenda as it relates to making life more affordable for the American people. What about winning across the country does he not get?
Okay, well, let's peel it back a layer. There's discussion locally. There was even talk about somebody wanting to challenge you. We still don't know whether or not Chiose, the city council member, is going to do that. But there's some discussion about whether or not Democratic leadership, and that's a term we'll try and nail down in, I guess, in just a second. But your wing of the Democratic leadership is either not tough enough, not forceful enough, not engaged enough. What's your sense of that?
Well, I think what we just saw over the last several months on the House Democratic side, partnering with Chuck Schumer and our colleagues on the Senate, is week after week after week pushing back against the Trump administration, making very clear to them that, of course, at all times, we will find a bipartisan path forward to fund the government, but that there were lines in the sand, including making sure that any spending agreement actually makes life better for the American people, and that we were not going to support a spending agreement that continued to gut the health care of the American people. Every single Democrat in the House and the Senate stood up against Donald Trump and the Republican one big ugly bill. Why did we do that? Because back in July, when they jammed that bill down the throats of the American people without a single Democratic vote, they ripped health care away from everyday Americans. We pushed back aggressively against that. They enacted the largest cut to supplemental nutrition in American history, cut $186 billion from SNAP, literally ripping food from the mouths of children, seniors, and hungry veterans. We pushed back aggressively against that. And all of that was done by Republicans so they could enact massive tax breaks for their billionaire donors.
Are we going to go through this all over again on January 30th?
Well, now we're in the middle of a fight as we approach December 31st, where we're going to continue to make clear that we need the Affordable Care Act tax credits extended so that tens of millions of people, including over 1 million people here in New York State, don't see their health care premiums dramatically increase. And everywhere I go, in the community, in the city, across the country, people are urging us to continue to stay in that fight, which we will, until we win this fight.
A recent CBS poll asked Democratic voters, well, actually voters overall, to describe their party in one word. For a majority of all voters and more than 40% of Democrats, the word that they chose is, quote, weak. What aren't you doing? Is this a messaging problem? Is there some new strategy you might want to try?
Well, I think what's interesting is that this weak party just won elections all across the country. So there's a juxtaposition. And I think part of it is that, you know, Donald Trump is unleashing extremism on the American people week after week after week. This incredible, unprecedented assault on the economy, on health care, on nutritional assistance, on veterans, on everyday Americans, on law-abiding immigrant families, on the rule of law, and of course on democracy itself. And so we are in a more is more environment, and as Democrats we have to continue to do more. Right. But I think what we've decisively seen literally all across the country, and we've been winning elections, by the way, since the end of January when we flipped the seat in the Iowa State Senate that Donald Trump had just won by 21 points the previous November. We flipped that seat, and we've been winning elections ever since. That said, we can't take our foot off the gas pedal. We have to continue to press forward and articulate our affirmative agenda. We want to lower the high cost of living. We want to fix our broken healthcare system. And of course, we need to clean up corruption in this country so we can deliver an America that actually works for working class folks.
Yeah, one thing about all of this, when I see a word like weak or people saying you're not fighting hard enough, look, you come through here and I see you've got like a level of security you didn't used to have to travel with. There's been serious threats against you, at least one of which resulted in quite a bit of publicity. How are things going as far as that part of your life?
Yeah, well, you know, I appreciate you raising that. When you push back aggressively, all of us, you know, in the House, in the Senate, governors, mayors, local elected officials, of course, we see extremists on the other side of the aisle who start to target you. And that's certainly been a reality, particularly, you know, throughout the year. The particular situation that, you know, unfolded a couple of weeks ago, of course, was some individual who was pardoned by Donald Trump for attacking the Capitol on January 6th. And we know hundreds of these people, violent felons, have actually been pardoned by the president on his first day in office and then released back into communities. So I'm more concerned about the impact that that has on public safety in neighborhoods throughout America. This is from a group of people, by the way, Errol, who promised that they were going to lower costs on day one. But costs haven't gone down on day one. Costs are going up. The Trump tariffs are creating life that is more expensive for everyday Americans, thousands of dollars of additional expenses per year. And that's why we're continuing to wage this healthcare affordability fight and pressing our Republican colleagues to do the right thing and extend the Affordable Care Act tax credit.
Among the chattering classes, the consultants and the commentators and so forth, there's an assumption that Democrats are going to win control of the House. The polling, at least at this stage, seems to suggest that on a generic ballot, people think that they want to vote for Democrats more so than Republicans. That's enough to win the control of the House and perhaps make you the Speaker of the House. If that should happen, how will life be different for New Yorkers?
Well, listen, we're going to continue to work hard to stop the extremism from being unleashed on the people of New York City, New York State, and across the country, serve as a check and balance on an out-of-control executive branch. That's what the framers of the Constitution wanted. That's not what we're seeing from our Republican colleagues, who are nothing more than a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda. And if any of my House Republican colleagues dare to push back, even gently, against Donald Trump, they get run out of office, as we just saw with Marjorie Taylor Greene. House Democrats in the majority are also going to try to move an affirmative agenda that recognizes that far too many people in this city work hard, play by the rules, but can't get ahead, can barely get by, are living check to check. And we actually have to do something to make life more affordable. In the city, as the mayor-elect is working hard to do, in the state, as Governor Hochul is working hard to do, and of course, down in Washington, where we've seen no action from our Republican colleagues, but as House Democrats we will press forward to try to accomplish.
Okay, speaking about affordability, Mayor-elect Mamdani publicly urged the New York City DSA not to endorse Chiose in a primary against you. Did you speak with him before that? Was there an actual or implied kind of alliance that you had with him?
Well, we actually didn't talk about the politics related to primaries in any great detail. We spent a lot of time talking about, and continue to do so, talking about his continued emphasis on affordability and public safety. And I think as we saw most recently when the mayor-elect met with Donald Trump, continuing to stay focused on those issues and delivering for the people of New York will pay dividends. And everybody needs to lean in to make sure that the mayor-elect is successful, that the governor is successful, because if that in fact is the case, if he's successful, then the people that we represent will be successful, because the city of New York will be successful.
What do you make of that summit or that meeting between Mamdani and President Trump the other day in the Oval Office?
Yeah, it was kind of an extraordinary thing, but Donald Trump clearly recognizes that, Mayor Mamdani is committed to trying to turn things around from an affordability standpoint. And he also knows, meaning the president, that he's failed in that regard. And hopefully we'll see actually Donald Trump try to emphasize those issues of lowering the high cost of living across the country a little more, and partner with the city of New York as opposed to trying to target the city of New York. So I thought it was a great success.
Have you ever had a meeting like that with the president?
I think the most recent meeting that I had with the president was a few days before Donald Trump and Republicans decided to shut the government down. And we agreed to strongly disagree on the issues, because we made clear at that moment that we were not supporting any partisan Republican spending bill as long as it gutted the health care of the American people. And we did not support that partisan Republican spending bill a few days later when we hit the October 1st deadline.
So something that across both sides of the aisle that I'm hearing from you is that there's actions being taken by the Republican majority at the behest of the White House that have nothing to do with winning elections, right? That it's clearly not going to be popular. We see the effects that are going to hit even Republican districts when the cost of health care premiums goes through the roof. We know that it's not popular. The polling suggests that. You have hard evidence in the form of these elections, like you said, from coast to coast, up and down the ballot. How does this continue to sort of go in a destructive path that just not only hurts individual families, but is politically just not working for anybody?
Yeah, it's incredible to me, first and foremost, that my Republican colleagues are actually hurting the people that they represent. Like when you enact the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, they've now set in motion hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers closing in their communities, rural America, and all across the country. And apparently they could care less because they were ordered by Donald Trump to do so. When you are on the verge of allowing the Affordable Care Act tax credits to expire, the 10 states that are most impacted are all Republican-run states. Everyday Americans throughout the country are going to get hurt, but it's West Virginia, it's Wyoming, it's Alaska, it's Tennessee, it's Mississippi, it's South Carolina, I believe, Alabama, Texas, these states, North and South Dakota, who are most impacted by the Affordable Care Act tax credits expiring, and my Republican colleagues could care less.
Well, I mean, if this is part of your messaging for the fall elections, and it's happening about a year from now, can you wait that long? Is that what the message is going to be? Or are people going to have to endure all of this pain? Or is there kind of another way to sort of set up a Democratic alternative?
Well, one of the reasons why we've waged the fight and we've launched a discharge petition, as was most recently done successfully with the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, we, as Democrats in the House, have launched a discharge petition to try to force an up or down vote on a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And all we'll need at the end of the day is just a handful of our Republican colleagues to join us. And if that, in fact, is the case, then we can save health care in terms of affordability for the people that I'm privileged to represent throughout the 8th Congressional District in Brooklyn, for people in New York City, for people in New York State, and across the country. All we need is a handful of Republicans, including a handful from New York State, like Mike Lawler and others. Just join us.
Okay.
And if you're willing to do so, we can actually get something done for the people that they represent.
Where are some of the seats that you're targeting, that you're planning to flip between now and next year?
Well, we believe that in this environment, we've got 25, 30, 35 different seats that we actually are in position to win. Now, we only have to win 3, but they're all across the country. A handful here in New York. We've got at least 1, maybe 2 in New Jersey. We've got 3 to 4 in Pennsylvania, 3 to 4 in Michigan, 1 or 2 in Wisconsin, at least 2 in Arizona, several opportunities now in California. We've got some seats that we got to hold in Texas, but maybe a handful that we can pick up as well. So coast to coast, across the country, north, south, east, and west,
okay,
we're going to work hard to take back the House.
Who's the leader of the Democratic Party? If I asked you, everybody's got their own opinion about this.
Well, it's my honor to be the House Democratic leader, and I have a job right now to lead about 215 Democrats in the House of Representatives. It's a big job, and I'm working hard to do the best that I can.
Okay, we'll let you get back to it. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Happy holiday to you. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, we'll talk more about the dismissal of the criminal case against State Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test? Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of, they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You've done with the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we are turning back to tonight's top story. A federal judge has dismissed the criminal cases against State Attorney General Letitia James and former FBI Director James Comey, ruling that the U.S. attorney who brought the cases was unlawfully appointed. The decision was a setback to President Trump's efforts to punish those that he considers his enemies. Our Courtney Gross has been going through the ruling and joins me now with more. Good evening, Courtney.
Good evening, Errol. These have obviously been a controversial set of charges that have been dismissed today, a pair of dismissals, and this is actually being dismissed not necessarily as a rebuke of the charges per se, but really on a legal technicality, that the fact that Lindsay Halligan, who is was the acting U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, who brought these two cases against Tish James and James Comey, that she was appointed illegally, that her appointment was invalid specifically because it was not approved by the Senate. She was appointed in September by the Attorney General of the United States. This was the second time they've had an interim appointment in this particular office, so therefore the judge said that is not how this is supposed to go. In that case, it should have been up to the district judges to appoint a U.S. attorney for this particular seat because it was 2 sets of interim appointments. I know this is technicality, or this is just getting in the weeds of the legal document here, but this is what I mean when I say that this was dismissed on the fact that it was a legal technicality. Now, Tish James obviously released a statement today in response to the dismissal saying, quote, "I am heartened by today's victory and grateful for the prayers and support I have received from around the country. I remain fearless in the face of these baseless charges as I continue fighting for New Yorkers every single day." We've been talking to legal experts all day about this set of opinions in the Comey and James case. Let's listen to one former federal prosecutor.
This new U.S. attorney was put in with 0 experience whatsoever. In a normal time, this is a person who has never handled a criminal case. She was an insurance lawyer prior to taking this position. I'm not sure she's ever been in a courtroom a day in her life before this, or handled a case, or she did other things with regard to handling the grand jury material in this case that are highly questionable to anybody who's ever practiced criminal law. And I think that this is a way that the court is really very strongly rebuking the Trump administration and this Department of Justice and saying you cannot do this kind of thing.
Obviously, speaking about Lindsay Halligan there, she had obviously been appointed by the Attorney General, like I said previously, back in September. She has no prosecutorial experience. As for the future of these cases, these indictments were dismissed without prejudice, meaning that the Department of Justice could potentially bring them back at a later date. And we're already hearing about a potential appeal from the White House press secretary.
I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these 2 individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsay Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it.
So we will see what the future is, but clearly not a victory, a resounding defeat today for the Trump administration. When it comes to these very controversial cases, Errol, that were highly criticized back in September and October when they were brought, really unprecedented, showing there's supposed to be a divide between politics and the Department of Justice, a divide between the White House and what happens in U.S. attorneys' offices really all around the country, and that is not what happened in this case.
Yeah, I mean, that's partly why they fumbled the case, right? I mean, there was a qualified, experienced prosecutor in place. And even before his 120 days were up, he basically told the White House, or told the Justice Department, there's no case here, I don't want to move forward with this. So they moved him out. They brought in this person who went by herself because no career prosecutors would work with her on it.
Yep.
And this is the result that you get.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that gets to what I was talking about before, is that these were 2 interim appointments. And the ruling states that if you are allowed to have interim appointments, which are just supposed to be 120 days, and if this was what the Department of Justice or the Attorney General was allowed to do, then you could have interim appointments forever. And there would be no reason to have a clause within the U.S. Constitution to have the U.S. Senate actually approve these appointments. It would be essentially meaningless.
Okay, thank you very much for that report, Courtney. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has announced more than a dozen committees to help with his transition to City Hall. We'll bring you those details in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices, streaming live 24/7, plus on-demand weather forecast to help you stay prepared. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News, free with your Spectrum subscription, exclusively for Spectrum customers, now available on your favorite devices.
It's only a game. It's only a little rivalry. It's only a ritual. When I come home and a few generations. You're always there. And only Spectrum TV includes all your favorite streaming apps with live TV at no extra cost. It's only a game. It's only everything.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard. At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. With a little more than 5 weeks until he is sworn into office, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani took another step toward building out his administration today, announcing the names of more than 400 people who will serve on his transition committees. And he talked more about his surprisingly warm meeting with President Donald Trump at the White House on Friday. Our Bobby Kuza joins me now with the details. Good evening, Bobby.
Good evening, Errol. And this list of names on the transition team is pretty interesting. You got labor leaders, advocates, nonprofit leaders, a lot of people who were in government. Christine Quinn, elected officials, people like former Fire Commissioner Laura Kavanaugh is on there. A lot of people who've been your guests on this show. And these are people who are not necessarily going to be part of the administration, but who are going to be helping to build it in these next several weeks.
Zohran Mamdani had a message Monday for those who've been tapped to help shape his new administration.
So often, what we have seen is transitions are times of pageantry and pomp. We want to make this a period of purpose and of preparation.
Mamdani and his leadership team were meeting with some of the more than 400 members of his transition committees, who will help make hiring and policy recommendations as the mayor-elect begins to staff 60 agencies, 95 mayoral offices, and 257 boards and commissions. The transition team includes former government officials and leaders from the nonprofit and private sectors.
We want to make sure that these New Yorkers who have so often been at the heart of when government has worked and also have seen it when government has failed, they can inform how we're looking to form our next government.
The list also reflects Mamdani's priorities, with committees focused on community organizing and worker justice. The list also includes 5 leading members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They'll all help Mamdani sift through an applicant pool of 70,000 people with an average age of 28.
For a long time in New York City, we've been told that one of the reasons we have a shortfall of vacancies of about 17,000 people in our workforce is because of a lack of interest. And what we're seeing is that is patently not the case anymore.
Mamdani was also asked about Friday's meeting at the White House, where he seemed to disarm President Donald Trump.
I made the case for our city. I made the case for delivering on the foremost crisis in New Yorkers' lives, the cost of living crisis. And I was heartened to hear President Trump share in the pool afterwards that he was looking to help this city, not to hurt it.
Asked if Trump had made any guarantees he wouldn't send federal troops to New York or cut federal funding, Mamdani said this.
We spoke about these as commitments, and I was thankful for the productive conversation.
At one point, Mamdani was also asked about housing policy, and he talked about the fact that he had spoken with Trump about housing, which they had talked about in the Oval Office on Friday, but he said he actually brought up the ULURP process, the land use review process, and how difficult it is to get things built in New York City. So I think one of the first times ULURP has been discussed in a meeting in the Oval Office. But that was brought up in the context of, the fact that he really wants to advance housing, and one of the leaders of Open New York is part of that transition.
The way to any New York builder's heart is to talk about doing away with, or at least changing, some of the land use review procedures.
Right. And that's, just one of many areas of policy that the transition team is going to be tackling. I mean, there's so much, not only, you saw the number of mayoral agencies and commissions that have to be staffed, and then you think about all the different areas of policy. And Mamdani, he has a policy platform, but he doesn't have details in every every possible aspect. A reporter today asked him about Waymo, the self-driving cars that they want to start testing out on city streets. He said, we haven't gotten to that yet, right? I mean, there's not an answer for everything, and so this team is going to begin forming some of that. And they don't have a lot of time. I mean, 37 days till he takes office, so they've got a lot to do in a
right. I mean, we've certainly reported extensively on the 4 or 5 things that he has promised to do. He said very little about the other 150 things that he's going to have to either do or not do or adjust after he becomes mayor.
Sure, and I mean, some of these things, a lot of these things come up during the campaign. I mean, we try to do our job asking them questions about policy, but they're not always fully fleshed out. I mean, one case in point is mayoral control of schools. I mean, it wasn't until, close to the primary that in questions to Mamdani and others, we learned that he didn't really support mayoral control. We still don't really know exactly what that's going to look like, but we're going to have to find out pretty soon when he heads up to Albany.
Well, there's some experts there, including, I noticed at least one, Dennis Walcott, a former chancellor.
Dennis Walcott, and the head of the teachers union is a member as well.
They'll give him an earful about that for sure. Thanks, Bobby. Republican candidate for governor Elise Stefanik got the endorsement of one of her fellow Republican members of Congress, Mike Lawler, today, after he decided not to run for governor himself. The endorsement took place in Rockland County in Lawler's district, and our Dan Rivley was there. He joins me now with that story. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Errol. So there was a time when Mike Lawler himself wanted to run for governor, and then Donald Trump on his Truth Social put out that post saying he would make a great candidate for re-election in his district. Shortly after that, he announced he would not run for governor. So he is backing Elise Stefanik. That endorsement happened at the Elks Lodge in Rockland County. And Lawler's message to the Republicans in the audience was to not underestimate Elise Stefanik.
One-party Democratic rule in New York has run this state into the ground.
What could have been Congressman Mike Lawler's stump speech challenging Governor Kathy Hochul's re-election is now a speech endorsing someone else.
To the next governor of the state of New York, Elise Stefanik.
Elise Stefanik, the Republican North Country Congresswoman running against Hochul. She joined Lawler and local Republicans in Rockland County.
Under Kathy Hochul's failed leadership, New York is the most unaffordable state in the nation, with the highest taxes, highest utility bills, highest energy prices, highest insurance prices. The list goes on and on.
Lawler, who is running for re-election in his Hudson Valley district, once argued his moderate approach was necessary to beat a Democrat in New York, and that a Republican too associated with President Trump's Make America Great Again movement could not. Now,
Elise has proven time and again that she should not be underestimated.
When asked about Lawler's endorsement,
how about that one? What?
Hochul said that Lawler would be owning Stefanik's remark that Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is a jihadist, a remark that came up during President Trump's meeting with him.
Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning.
Mike Lawler now is part of that whole genre of individuals who don't even care when the president says not to. They're willing to be more extreme than him.
In a phone call with New York One after the event, Stefanik stood by the remark.
This is a real issue for families in New York, particularly for Jewish families.
At the rally, Stefanik tied Mamdani's agenda to Hochul, who endorsed his campaign.
She bent the knee to the defund the police, anti-Semitic, tax-hiking socialist.
And while Stefanik is getting Republican support around the state, she could very well have a primary if Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman announces a run. He put out a statement after that endorsement from Lawler to Stefanik, saying that Republican Party needs to pick someone who has the best chance of winning. And he said that's why he is still exploring a run at the behest of community and business leaders, Errol.
Okay, so she seems to be locking up some support, and there's still some question out there. And I understand, candidates are going to run their race however they run it, but she's been saying Kathy Hochul is the worst governor in America over and over and over again. Every day I'm seeing this in my social media feeds. Is she putting out any kind of positive program saying, New York is unaffordable, and therefore I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
It's really the taxes. I think the Republican message on affordability is focused on taxes and energy costs. And this is obviously something Kathy Hochul is sensitive to. She just supported a natural gas pipeline, right? Natural gas is cheap. It angered the environmentalists. They called it the Trump pipeline. But Kathy Hochul knows high Con Edison bills is going to be electoral poison. Stefanik also understands that a lot of the green policies you see coming out of Albany do affect price of energy and things like that. So she's making the energy and then the taxes a key part. And she's really trying to warn New Yorkers, saying that, you know, once the election's over, Kathy Hochul is going to raise taxes. She's already said she doesn't want to raise income taxes, but then is talking about raising corporate taxes. So again, they're really making the case that taxes need to go down, and they want to be a check, especially on a legislature so dominated by Democrats.
It's interesting, on the cost of energy or electricity, she might even find some common ground with Mayor-elect Mamdani.
Well, yes, because he talked about the high price of the Con Edison bills. Con Edison just had to go back on a promised rate hike. They wanted a really big rate hike, caused howls around the state. The thing is, there's differences in how to achieve that, because, you know, Mamdani is not going to go back on a lot of green energy policies. For example, the what they call Local Law 97, the Green Building Energy Law. He was going to go hard on that and really make buildings go into compliance, but that can raise maintenance costs for, especially if you live in a co-op. That could be high cost. And so for Stefanik, the Republicans' argument is, if you want cheap energy, you just got to make it cheaper, right? More energy production, more natural gas, nuclear facilities, and the like. Something Democrats didn't do. I mean, we saw Indian Point close. Made, you know, it definitely affects prices.
Okay, we're starting to see the contours of the race are starting to shape up. Thanks very much, Dan. Let's take a break now. When we come back, Mayor Adams is back in the city after traveling abroad for 9 days. We'll take a closer look at his trip and what he missed while he was out of town. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills, a weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network, and factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. After a lengthy international trip that almost allowed public advocate Jumaane Williams to step in as acting mayor, the real mayor, Eric Adams, is back. And there's already talk that he may be hitting the road again soon. Our Kelly Mena has more in this report.
A proud supporter of the city and its champions, Mayor Eric Adams.
Mayor Adams is back in the city, but it doesn't mean New Yorkers are excited to see him. Adams' first public appearance since returning from abroad was met by disdain by some during the celebration for soccer champions Gotham FC.
Whenever you play sports, you know you got to play through the hecklers and just stay focused and keep it. That's how you win. You don't win when you worry about the haters.
The chilly reception comes after Adams spent 9 days abroad, making stops in Israel and then Uzbekistan. The trips were billed as an opportunity for Adams to build economic and business relationships with international leaders.
My role as the mayor, even as the outgoing mayor, is to introduce the new mayor to what are the possibilities that are here in Uzbekistan and bring together those partnerships.
But while Adams was away, the city still experienced its troubles, with the mayor noticeably absent, starting with the funeral of Queens firefighter Patrick Brady, who died while battling a 5-alarm blaze after suffering a medical episode. Then there was a police officer who was shot and injured amid a dispute between neighbors in Brownsville, Brooklyn. It was First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro who filled the void left by the mayor.
All of these brave officers are doing well. And we hope and pray for them complete recoveries. And we're pleased to be able to spend time with them to thank them for their bravery and their service.
The mayor's spokeswoman told New York One that the travel and lodging of the trips were funded by taxpayers. But Adams' absence didn't go unnoticed, especially by his designated successor. Public advocate Jumaane Williams would gain the power to accept or reject legislation if the mayor's gone for 9 days or more, according to the city charter. Adams cut it close, arriving back around 9:45 a.m. on Sunday with only hours left. Adams clocked back in a post on X, saying in part, "One has to feel a bit bad watching a 4-year attempt to become mayor by every means except winning over the voters finally crash and burn. I genuinely hope you find some peace and happiness moving forward." Next for Adams is a trip to New Orleans to accept an award for his work on fighting anti-Semitism, according to the Daily News. Kelly Mena, New York One.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will continue talking about Mayor Adams' return as well as Mamdani's transition to City Hall when I'm joined by 2 top consultants. Stay with us.
The next downtown local 6 train to Brooklyn Bridge City Hall will arrive in 2 minutes.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer.
I'm so honored to be a meteorologist here at New York One because as a Brooklyn kid, this is the station that I grew up watching. Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our weather on the ones. Watch the New York One weather experts on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Earlier in tonight's show, we heard from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries about the future of the Democratic Party and his strategy going into next year's midterm elections. Joining me now to talk about that and much more are the members of this week's Consultants Corner. We have Democratic consultant John Tomlin here and political consultant Joan Valero. Thank you both for being here. So, look, we just heard from Hakeem Jeffries earlier tonight that despite all of the hand-wringing, all of the talk about a fight for the soul of the Democratic Party or a civil war within the Democratic Party, what he kept saying is that Democrats are winning elections. And for a party leader, that's the first and most important job, right? Shouldn't that be how you settle most arguments?
Yes, but it's also about delivering for the people, right? And so I think that's what Democratic voters need to see is it's one thing to elect people to office. They need to see those people who they elect deliver. Right. And I think that's been part of the challenge that the Democrats have been dealing with lately. You know, the electorate heard from Trump that the system is rigged against them. Right. Democrats were often in a position to defend the very institutions that failed those voters. And so to me, I think what Democrats need to prove is that they are the change agents and that they will make change that's going to benefit the lives of their constituents and not just their donors, their corporate the corporate billionaires, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, they've got this this big fat target in the form of the healthcare premiums and extending the Obamacare of subsidies. Do they need more than that?
I think they do. I think because Trump has been playing very coy about what he has up his sleeve on health care, and the announcement's going to be made at any moment. So
2 weeks from now. Yeah.
So I think it's something that we do have to, that he has to be watching closely.
I mean, when the Republicans say we don't want these Affordable Care Act subsidies, we want to do something different, and we've heard now for like literally 10 years now, there is no something different, right? I mean, there is no alternative plan at this point.
Yeah, we've also heard from President Trump himself on Truth Social last week saying that I don't think that there's going to be any, he was saying something about how the corrupt insurance agencies and things like that, insurance companies. So I think it seems like it's an intractable problem. We'll see.
We shall see. What did you make of that Friday meeting between Mayor-elect Mamdani and President Trump? Who got the best of that?
Well, here's what I'll say. I think that Mayor-elect Mamdani and Governor Hochul, to a degree, have really figured out how to deal with Trump so far, right? If you look what's happening in Illinois, you have a governor and a mayor who are very much antagonizing the president. And if you want the support of the federal government for things in your city to get done, you know, with this president, with the ego that he has, antagonizing him is not the answer, right? And so what I saw from Mamdani is an awareness of that, an awareness of I have to work with this man. I'm the mayor, he's the president. You know, if there's a disaster, I need to be able to call him and get federal support. And so that's what I observed. That's what I made of that.
Yeah. What did you think?
I thought it was a charm offensive on both sides. I thought that it was as important to the president to impress the mayor-elect as it was to the mayor-elect to impress the president.
Why so? What does Donald Trump get out of it?
I think he is just delighted to meet with the boy wonder of New York City, and I think he has a lot of respect for the race that Mamdani run and the support he was able to build, and that's why I think he was sort of courting his affection as well.
You know, I always think of the commercial angle with Donald Trump, in part because he's worked so hard to enrich himself while in office, and I'm thinking nothing would help him better with dealing with, say, with the Saudis and so forth than to have this first Muslim mayor of New York and be on good terms with him. Also, it never hurts if you're a real estate developer with interest in New York to have the mayor on your side.
Fair enough, but you know, I agree with you. I think that President Trump really, if there's one thing that he responds to, it's celebrity, right? And so here was this, you know, new hot thing on the scene. No one had ever heard from him before. And now all of a sudden he's mayor-elect of New York City. And Donald Trump just can't wait to stand next to that.
Are you suggesting that if he'd barely won, or if the media wasn't interested in him, it would have been a different meeting?
It might have been. Yeah, you know, look, who knows? I will also say that there are some similarities between the two of them, right? I think that they both fought back against the establishment of their respective parties. And they, they proved the pundits wrong, that they didn't stand a chance, and that they do have, at least Mamdani has potential to really remake the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I mean, in pure, I guess, Hollywood showbiz terms, that meeting was interesting.
Yes.
It riveted the audience because it was unexpected.
Great ratings.
That's what an entertainer does. Let's take a short break. We've got more to talk about with these consultants. We'll do that in 2 minutes. Stay with us. Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 on Spectrum News New York 1. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month, as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I'm once again joined by my Consultants Corner. We have Democratic consultant John Tomlin and political consultant Joan Valero. We have a big transition committee that was announced today, and the size of it, I guess, is not, to me, as interesting as the sort of the composition, where there are ideological odd bedfellows, if you want to call it that, where you've got Kathy Wild from the business community, as well as the co-chair of the DSA. You've got the leader of the Working Families Party. You've got housing activists next to housing developers. They don't often come down on the same side. What is the mayor-elect trying to do there?
I think he's trying to appease a lot of different interests, and I think that he's probably also saying that these are my policy initiatives, this is my platform, and I'm tasking you with sort of sorting through this and how we're going to actually enact this through the recommendations that you make to us. I did think that the size was bizarre. It's too large. It's too large to be effective.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have tens of thousands of resumes to look through, so technically you need a lot of people to do that, I guess, although that's not necessarily going to be what they're up to.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he was trying to achieve two things. One, I think he needed to reassure people who worked themselves up into a frenzy ever since he was elected that, you know what? New York City is still going to be here. I intend for all of you to do fine, and I'm going to be a good mayor. I think he needed to reassure those people. He also needed to show the people who pushed him, who really supported him throughout the campaigns, that you're going to have a voice in this government too, right? And so that's why I think he has such a diverse set of people on these transitions. And you know what? Like, that's New York City, right? I mean, you've got the housing activist, living in the building that's owned by the big developer. So, that's a microcosm of what, actual life is like here.
Yeah, and I was looking at the names and I was like, oh, she's got a list of what she wants. And, a bunch of people are going to be walking in there with a list of 10 points that they want the next mayor to take
And I think
seriously.
the point is that, and that Mamdani's making is those people have a seat at the table. Right? Whereas they may not have felt that they've had a seat at the table before.
We may not do anything you want for the next 4 years, but we gave you a seat at the table, at least on day one or before day one. Finally, Mayor Adams, finally back in the city. He went to Israel, he went to Uzbekistan, almost 10 days out of town. He missed a funeral for an FDNY firefighter who died in the line of duty. He was not here when an NYPD officer was shot, and so forth and so on. It sounds like he's more or less kind of checked out of the job at this point.
I think that's exactly right. I think he was in Albania too recently. This is a lot of people are trying to get their favors in before the time is his time is over at City Hall. And I think with Uzbekistan in particular, there's people who are looking for access to U.S. capital markets, to the stock exchange, and I think that. He's their best chance at probably getting that right now, because I don't think when Zoran Mamdani becomes sworn in as mayor that they're going to have the same access.
No. And I would hope that there's no quid pro quo here. I assume the mayor has learned his lesson on that at least.
Well, we'll see. Who knows? Did he fly coach? Did he fly business class? How did that go? Look, part of the issue has been that New Yorkers have observed this mayor traveling to Turkey, traveling to Uzbekistan, and I think they'd rather him be in New York than Uzbekistan. And so, now he's going to have a lot of time next year to go to Uzbekistan as much as he wants. But for now, you would hope that he would take the last few weeks of his job seriously.
Yeah, one would hope. John Tomlinson and Joan Valero, thank you both. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done at the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No.
Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere, at home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps included at no extra cost.
Scott that pal, get a good look.
With live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters on your smart TV and connected devices.